Welcome, everybody, to the Real Dealz podcast, one of the top-ranked real estate investing podcasts for the last 7 years. This is the place to be for investing strategies you can actually use, expert interviews, and, of course, some good old-fashioned entertainment. Now, here's your host for the show, Elliot, the REI guy, Smith.
What's going on, Real Dealz podcast listeners? Coming at you with show 396. I know I say this a lot, but man, this is probably the first episode that I actually was taking notes while he was talking. We're interviewing today Pat Flynn. I met Pat through GoBundance. He had joined just a little bit before me, and we met last year. He started using the call center, and then we actually met in person at the GoBundance event in August, and became friends. And this guy is freaking amazing. If you look at these guys that have built really big real estate businesses and you think, man, it must have taken a long time. This guy, yes, he was in real estate for a while, but he was working a job up until 2017. First year out of the gate, when he was not working a job anymore, he bought 78 houses. And last year, so that was 2017, 2018. Last year, they bought 418 houses out of Jacksonville, Florida. And they're very, very profitable. That's the thing. Their profit margins are very good. And they're also keeping a bunch of stuff for rentals. So they're doing a lot of really cool things. And he talks a lot in here about how he builds his team and actually how he focuses on his team's whole life. And so he's not just focused on their work performance, but he's also focusing on their extracurricular activities, their personal life, what are their dreams, what are their goals, are their family, how's their health doing, all these different things, which really makes them become better, more well-rounded, happy employees. And I have truly seen this when I've dealt with a couple of his employees that work for him since they use our call center, and they are passionate, happy, excited. They will stick up for their company and themselves, and they bleed Yellowbird. And so it just is really cool to see the culture that he's created and then the focus that he's kind of put on that and where he's kind of moving himself to go focus on that even more. So I think you're really going to like this show. So what's going on with us this week? So just got done walking another 30 plus unit building. We've been working on this one since November. I probably talked about it a couple of times. Should be getting all signed around today. We walked, there's some vacant units, so we walked a bunch of the vacant units, but we're gonna hit the ground running on this. So really excited about that. And my partner, Greg, is in town today. He's the one we bought the 25 unit with and the last 32 unit with, and we will be buying this one with him as well. And so a lot of really, really good things coming. And did close a flip last week that I worked on. I think I had it tied up since middle of November. And so finally got that closed. And so we're going to work on that, but just a lot of really good things to start the year out. Nothing too crazy groundbreaking going on other than that. We did lower our pricing at the call center to $12.50 a month per caller, got our data costs down a little bit, just to make it a little bit more affordable for people to just really generate a lot of leads this year. That's pretty exciting because we've been having a ton of people signing up, and so kind of got good traction there at the call center. But other than that, guys, I'm just doing the same thing you are, just trying to get direct mail out the door, get some leads in the door, start closing some deals to start filling that pipeline back up going into the new year. So anyway, hope you guys have a great day. Enjoy the show. Here's a quick word from our sponsor, but I'll catch you in the next one.
All right, Real Dealz podcast listeners, I want to talk quickly about our show's sponsor, Ironbridge Lending. If you guys have not reached out to Ironbridge already to talk to them about funding some of your upcoming flip projects, I highly encourage you to do so. I've known the owner of Ironbridge for a very long time. I personally borrowed millions of dollars from them over the years to do a number of different projects, and I can say without a doubt, they are the best hard money lending company I have ever come across, and that is the reason why they are the sole sponsor of this show. I've had a lot of other companies reach out to me and want to sponsor this show, but I just won't do it. I feel like I need to be genuine in who we have sponsoring the show, and it needs to be somebody that I've personally done a ton of business with. So I personally vouch for their ability to be the best, hands down, in the world of hard money lending. You won't find better programs, you won't find better terms, and they're lending or will be lending in over 20 states. So chances are, if you're hearing this in whatever state you're in, it's definitely worth it to check out their website, reach out to them, see if they're lending in your state, and if they are, I would absolutely encourage you to do business with them. Another very cool thing to note is that they have a program for most rehabs where you can actually borrow up to 90% of the purchase price. Now, this is given the fact that you are actually buying a deal, which if you're listening to the show, that means you probably are. But if you have an actual deal on the table, they'll fund up to 90% of your purchase price, and they'll even give you rehab funds on top of that, which means that it only takes 10% down to get into a project, which is unbelievable in the hard money world. So do yourself a favor, reach out to Ironbridge Lending, have a conversation with them, see if they're a good fit for you and for your next project. I can guarantee you that you'll be happy that you did.
What's going on, Real Dealz podcast listeners? I am here with my good buddy, GoBundance member, Pat Flynn. He's out of Jacksonville, Florida, crushing life and business. What did you do, 418 deals last year, Pat?
We did 418. Yeah, we just had our sum up recently.
That's fantastic. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it. I think it's like our fourth reschedule.
Yeah. Sorry about that. It's tough to do these through the holidays.
No, there's a couple of times that I actually bailed on you too.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So I was just like, there's some days that my mental health, I'm just not in the zone. And so I'm just like, this is going to come off shitty if I talk to this guy today.
You have to be in the zone to do these, man, because if you're not feeling it, or if you had a few too many beers last night, like doing these is painful.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good today.
Good. Yeah. It's Monday. So, awesome. So why don't you talk a little bit about who you are, just in life in general. I think we're similar in age, but, who you are, how you got to where you're at, and we'll go from there.
Cool. Quick background. I'm from a small town in Western Massachusetts called the Berkshires. A lot of people who are based in Manhattan or New York City know that place because it's like a 3-hour drive, a little escape from New York, but really, really pretty countryside, great spot. I'd love to go back there one day, but kind of a small, kind of crappy town, to be honest. And I went from going to high school there. I went to college at a school called Kings Point U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. For anyone that's read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that's where Robert Kiyosaki went to school too. I played rugby there. Robert Kiyosaki was also a Kings Point rugby player. And I've always followed him very closely. And when I was a senior at Kings Point, actually, he came and spoke. He comes and speaks at Kings Point once in a while, just because it's his alma mater. He'll come back and talk for free. So it was before I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. He came and spoke, and he talked about just, it was a quick 20-minute talk just about his book and about wealth and money. And it planted the seed for me. And I was always super interested in it. But back then, I hadn't done much of the personal development stuff. I was just a college rugby player, just living life. Not much planning or thought went into anything that I did. So right out of school, I just did what everyone else did and just went to sea. So I was a merchant marine from 2009 until 2014.
What's a merchant marine? Could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so I worked in the engine room on those big ships you see in ports that are filled with containers or cars or oil or whatever. I was on oil tankers. So those big ships that go across the ocean. I did a ton of traveling, a great job for someone in their 20s. It's just, I spent a lot of time on the ocean, spent a lot of time traveling, but made great money doing it. During that time period, I was a big reader. So I read a lot about investing and real estate. I bought my first piece of land in 2010. So I graduated college in 2009. So the bottom of the market, right? Or as everything was tanking. Yeah. Bought my first piece of land during the downturn, bought that in 2010, and then bought a couple other rentals in Massachusetts just as I was sailing. So that's kind of started my real estate investing career. And then in 2013, just moved down to Florida just to get out of Massachusetts. And then I went from merchant marine to offshore drilling. And I drilled offshore on rigs until 2017 when I jumped into real estate full time. And during that whole time period of being offshore, you kind of work offshore for 6 months. And then you're home for 6 months or so. So I had time to work on my rentals and wholesaling and everything that I was doing with real estate while I was home. And
how many deals do you think you did while you were up until 2017? Like from 2010 to 2017, how many deals do you think you did?
Oh, not many. I mean, you can count, like I had 3 rentals in Massachusetts, which I ended up selling when I moved down, which weren't really deals. I didn't make much money off them. It was kind of just cutting my teeth in the space in the first place. I had never bought a house before. I bought a piece of land in Massachusetts that I did really well on, only because pure luck. I bought it during the downturn. I was going to live there one day, sold it when things were good. So
Yeah.
pure luck. Bought it when things were low, sold it when things were good. No skill to that whatsoever. I bought a rental in Jack's Beach that I recently sold, and did well on that, only because I bought it at the right time, and a triplex that I recently sold. And I JV'd on 2 flips, which I didn't really have much of a part of. But my time during that time of like figuring out how deals work is that like crucial time period where I'm not comfortable doing them yet, right?
Yeah,
And I'm learning like what is a deal, what's worth my time, what's not worth my time. So I looked at hundreds. So even though I probably did 10 deals total during that time period, the knowledge that I learned from JVing with others and just networking with other people was invaluable, and it set me up to really move quickly once I jumped into it full time.
Nice. Yeah, I always equate to that as I've tried to get into like development or multifamily stuff is you don't know what the hell you don't know, and so you get scared. And I go back and look at some of these deals that I passed on, like on development, and I'm like, God, I'm such a freaking idiot. But you offer so much less because you don't know shit, right? And so, but that learning of like what a deal is so imperative. And I think people really overlook that. People always want to get their CRM, get all these lists and do all these things. And it's like, you don't even know what a deal is yet.
Right. And it's like cutting your teeth in the business too, right? Like Elliot, like the development business is completely different than the home flipping business. Like the network of people in Jacksonville, like how do you JV a deal? What's a normal profit split? How do you treat people who you're JVing on a deal with? Because like I knew nothing about business too, right? Like I've worked, worked offshore and worked on these ships. Like that's a W-2 job.
You're a blue collar rugby guy.
Yeah.
That isn't an area that you didn't grow up in. You don't have daddy's money or you don't have daddy's connections.
Yeah. My old man worked at the post office since he got out of the Marine Corps, and my mom had the same job since she was 18. Awesome people, but I just didn't have that, like, I didn't have that business knowledge, and you can't get it from reading in a book. You just can't. You can't learn how to negotiate and talk about that stuff without doing it. So that was a lot of that time period too.
Nice. So when did you get married in there?
So the main reason when I left offshore drilling, I got the kick in the ass to leave because I was in Australia on a rig, and my girlfriend FaceTimed me and she was like, "Hey, I'm pregnant."
But it was yours, right? Because it wasn't when it was your kid though, right? I hope.
Yeah, so Nora does look like me. So we didn't get a birth test yet, but I'm pretty sure she's mine. So I was actually going to go back after Nora was born in February 2017. I was going to go back to work for a few more hitches, but I just wanted time off. I told the company, I was like, I don't want you to pay me. I just need 3 months at home. My family's down here. Jane needs me. And then they sent me a message 2 weeks after Nora was born with a plane ticket to Singapore for a 6-week job. And I was like, well, fuck y'all. Like, you just made the decision for me. So I left. And then me and Jane later got married in 2019. So a couple years after the kid.
No worries. I think it's all worked out a little, Yeah.
I wouldn't have it any other way, man. I mean, because I would have never, like, we weren't necessarily ready to get married then, but having the kick in the ass with Nora, like, it was a surprise, but I had always known I wanted kids, so we embraced it. And it was the best thing that could ever happen to me at that time.
So she's 4 now?
She'll be 5 in February.
Oh, dude.
So
my son just turned 3. It's so much freaking fun. It is getting so much more fun. This first Christmas this year, like where he really understood what was going on, and his first birthday, because his birthday was on the 28th of December, it's just like, oh my gosh. And watching him at his birthday party this weekend, he's just running every
this weekend.
What?
How old did he turn this weekend?
Well, he turned 3 on the December 28th, but we did the party this weekend. But he's running and playing with these kids and just freaking just so excited about life. And sometimes I'm just like, I wish I could be that oblivious to the world and just that excited about life. So, all right. So you guys, so 2017, you got the kick in the ass. Then what happened? So,
Yeah, so 2017, I had already had like I said, a really good runway. I already had some kind of deals in that I had been working and some stuff through wholesalers. So I had some great momentum. I had already been doing marketing because I'd send out a bunch of postcards and then go to the rig and I'd answer the phone, like never answer the phone, but the calls would go to a Google Voice number, and after work at night, I'd answer the phone calls and talk to leads then. So just immediately started kind of sniper marketing. I was hitting foreclosures lists, hitting tax deed, all the standard stuff they tell you to do, and getting some good traction. And then about 6 weeks into it, I was networking a ton during that time period too, because before I thought I wanted to do the whole thing on my own. Massive mistake. The more people you know, the more people you can partner with, provide value to, learn from, the faster your track will be. So 6 weeks or so into it, through networking, this local realtor who was working with hedge funds at the time, American Homes for Rent, I offered to like take over that because I had my license. I offered to take over that account for him and run that, and just offering to do services for people just to learn. I met my now business partner, Paskowitz, who'd been in the business a long time, had a lot of success buying rentals during the big downturn, and had flipped a lot of houses. So we just met, let's see what we can do here. I'm hungry, pretty new to the business, even though I've done deals before. I've never been kind of full time in it. So I just worked out of his office for the rest of that year and just did my own thing with marketing. And he bankrolled me on deals, so I borrowed money from him at 12 and 2, helped me with construction, and I just did profit splits with him. So I was able to do a shitload of deals because I didn't have to worry about money and I didn't have to worry about construction. So I gave up, majority of the profit of the deal, but I did a ton of them. I did 74 my first year because all I had to focus on was marketing. And back then you send out postcards, and it used to cost per deal back then was $2,000. I remember it vividly. $2,000 used to worth of postcards used to get me a deal every single time, like clockwork. And I was doing some other stuff, and I was doing some writing on my blog, but the main thing was JVing on deals, giving up profit to be able to do a lot more volume and partner with someone that was way more advanced than me. So that was that first year. And then we just got along really well. We worked together well. In mid 2018, we became full partners, but we didn't become full partners until we had done well over 100 deals together on a JV type partnership thing. So that's, one thing Kyle will tell you too, is like when you see people go to a real estate networking event and then they're like, hey, let's partner up. Me and you have both never done a deal together. Let's be partners. Like, this is partnership. It's a fucking marriage. And like there's ups and downs and long-term visioning and budget planning, who needs what money. It is very much a marriage. So I have a phenomenal partnership. I couldn't be more lucky to have the partners I do. But I think it's important to know we did over 100 JV deals before we decided to take that plunge.
Yeah, I wonder what's more important sometimes, or what's harder, partnership or a marriage?
Yeah, they're both difficult, and you have ups and downs in both of them, right?
Yeah,
and people get angry, and I spend so much time with Kyle and Steve. Right? Not every day is a good day, right? Yeah. Just like with your wife, and where you want to go changes. And I'm very fortunate because we have similar goals.
Yeah, I laugh because, Tucker, I don't know. Have you met Tucker? Have you hopped on a call with Tucker one time?
I'm never in person, but
yeah. So that one time, he's kind of the guy that's been around this business for a while, seen it. He's he's 42, and you got Cole, who's our 23-year-old partner. And you got me, who's, an emotional roller coaster. And so you got like Tucker, who's like the pillar, right? And it's like, and sometimes I feel bad for him because you got us two guys who are just
up and down.
And he's just a steady Eddie. But I want to go back and unpack, because I talk about this a lot, and I think we kind of glossed over it. The importance of understanding that the pie can be a lot. You can have a smaller slice of the pie, just make a bigger fucking pie, right? And so people, they want to, like, they get one deal, like, I need all this money, and they forget that it's like, man, there's so many people that are flashing the pans in and out of this business because they don't understand this as a team sport, right?
It very much is.
And so can you speak, like, was that just in you, or like where did you learn that to like understand giving up pieces of the deals and more of the deal to get deals done was important?
Yep. So I would say I kind of got lucky because Kyle already, maybe he didn't, he wasn't like, I'm not going to say he was this massive deal in Jacksonville, but I very much knew who he was because I was getting into the space. And my girlfriend, Jane, had been involved in several of his listings. And, if you have your finger on the pulse of what's happening in your local market, you know who the players are, right? So I knew Kyle was a player. So I didn't give a shit about the profit split because I just wanted to kind of grab onto his coattails and figure out what was happening there and learn as much as I could. So that was where my mindset was, more on learning. If I was working with someone less experienced than him, I probably wouldn't have had that vision to be like, let me just do a bunch of deals and give up profit to this guy. Because I'm like, oh, I found this deal. Why would I give my profit to you? Like, I'm not going to tell you I had this massive vision of knowing that it was a team sport and knowing that you're doing volume. It's better to do volume than do a couple massive deals, but pull your hair out. I more got lucky with kind of latching on with him and wanting to. Learning was more important to me than profit split then. I had financially set myself up pretty good to where I didn't need money for the next 2 years or so. So I knew that. So I was very financially comfortable. I put Kyle kind of in a tough position because I was like, hey man, I'm just going to hang out with you. I don't want any money. I don't want you to pay me. I don't want to set up anything. I just want to bring you deals and kind of hang out. And, perfect situation for him too, right? So he was able to pour some time into me. I was able to make him a shitload of money and add 75 deals to what he did that year. So it was a really good relationship. I looked at it more, and it worked out because I looked at it like I'm trying to get an education more than make money now. And
your Kyle was my Corey.
I set myself up well financially.
Yeah, your Kyle is my Corey. We're not full business partners, but we've done over 100 deals together, and he was a guy that's been doing it for 25 years. And I'm really good at finding deals and spending money on marketing, and he's really good at putting them back together, and he had a lot more money than I did.
Yeah.
So, and he just taught me along the way, more little things along the way, and you just pick up things. So, and it just worked so much fucking better.
Yep.
So, all right. So now we're 2018. You actually went full, you guys made it official. You got married, became partners, and then kind of what got you from 2018 to where you guys are today?
In 2018, we were part of a bunch of mastermind groups and everything. And I was always jealous of the guys that used to sit there, know their KPIs, be like, oh, all I got to do, fucking deal cost me $5,000. If I want more deals, I tweak up my marketing and I just watch my numbers and it's like clockwork. That was not us at all. Me and Kyle were very much grinders. So 100% of the business came from me and Kyle through wholesale relationships, marketing. I was doing all the marketing, all the appointments, all the answering phones on nights and weekends, all the transaction coordinating, everything. So I was busy, and it capped what we were doing because we were spending a shitload of money. We were probably spending $80,000 a month in marketing, and I was answering 100% of those phone calls, and we're doing a lot of business. But we weren't at all a business. It was me and Kyle and a couple of helpers. It's if anyone is I forgot the business book. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right
Traction?
now. Huh?
Traction?
No. He wrote Good to Great.
Oh, Jim Collins. I love
Jim
that
Collins.
guy.
I
Oh,
can't believe I couldn't
love
think
those
of his
books.
name.
I love those books.
But I'm a huge Jim Collins fan. I couldn't think of his fucking name right now, but I am a big fan of his. And it was the genius with 1,000 helpers model of business. So without me, without Kyle, the entire thing died. That's where we were in 2018, really, and a lot of 2019. And in 2019, I really consciously wanted to make that shift into becoming an actual business with a good culture where I wasn't pulling my hair out every day and answering all calls nights and weekends and dealing with all these people. And, I almost burnt out. And from burning out, I searched for more knowledge to kind of form it into a business and talk to a lot of people to do that. So we started making that shift like in 2019.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think the hard part, because I'm with you, and you're so much farther ahead of us. The hard part with that making that shift is just the cost. Were you guys really good at saving money and like just saying, hey, we're just going to spend money on this? Because I think that's the hard part for people is the cost of employees, or not only just the cost. Like if you're going to go replace yourself or myself as a sales guy, well, there's not guys that give a shit as much as I do or as good as me at sales. So how do I like, now my cost per deal is going to go from $2,000 to $4,000 because these guys suck. How do you handle that?
I think the answer to that is long-term visioning, right? Because there's plenty of people I know in the Jacksonville market that have no real interest in having employees or making it a business like ours, but they're extremely profitable on their own and they're happy and they're doing 50 deals a year and they're making 600-700 grand and they're super happy. And that's their vision for it. Because exactly what you said is right. You start bringing on employees, you start bringing on salespeople that aren't as good as you, your cost per deal is naturally going to go up, right? But that's okay to have that intermediary extra cost if you know where you're going in the end. So planning what you want to do, not just flying by the seat of your pants of just grow, scale with no actual reason for why you're doing it. I think that is the answer. If you know why you want more salespeople and why your cost per deal is going up and why you're putting this effort in, I think that would solve the problem, because it's exactly what you said, Elliot. You hire employees, you hire salespeople, your costs are going to go up. You know, I need to be bringing in 250 grand of profit a month in this place just to keep the lights on at this point. So it's more stress, more people, more money, but you know, we have reasons for why we're doing it. So it's enjoyable.
That's so smart. So you guys do, and I did it with Sarah. You guys do this great personality test called the Culture Index. And I came back as a rainmaker, which is probably not ideal for being that person. So how do you, like, you know, putting the right person in the right seats, how do you like dictate that? Like, how do you look at that? And especially, you know, somebody like me as a rainmaker, you know, like it's, you know, how do you structure around those things? How do you structure around personalities and traits and things like that?
Yeah. So first off, we use Culture Index. People listening to your podcast may be more have heard Predictive Index before, but it's the same kind of dots with the line. Very, very similar. Culture Index, Predictive Index. I think if you're going to grow anything past just you and your business partner and a couple of employees, you need that. It's essential. Rainmaker profile, phenomenal profile. We have our very, very best salesperson is a Rainmaker profile, and my profile, just the setup of it, it's a philosopher, but it's very much a Rainmaker in the low D, and the way I do sales and everything is just, I have a few other traits that honestly I have to work around. So me as one of the owners of the company, and you as a Rainmaker too, you're very low D, which we just kind of, it's, you know, no brakes, pedal to the metal, finding deals, just rolling. I've had to implement discipline and structure in my life to get to where we are in this business. And what got me there was just, I knew the picture. I had the vision in my head of what I wanted it to be. So I sacrificed and forced myself into the discipline to create it. And your question about putting people in the right seats, now it's pretty easy, to be honest. The system is set up for us. So what we do is whenever we need a new job, me and my leadership will get together, we'll write a job description, and then you do what in Culture Index or Predictive Index is called a C job. So we'll answer a bunch of questions about this new job. Me, a couple of my leaders will do it, and whoever this new person's going to report to, and it will spit out a pattern. And that pattern may be Rainmaker, it may be philosopher, it may be craftsman, specialist, whatever it is. So you know what you're looking for before you even hire this person. So put out a job ad, have everyone do Culture Index, and then I can hire for that profile for this job, and I can get it right, not 100% of the time, but a lot more than I would have before if I didn't have that tool. So your question of putting people in the right seats and letting them play to their strengths, I mean, that's what phenomenal leadership does, in my opinion.
I'm trying to figure out what my wife is.
Janna's a Rainmaker. She's one of my best salesperson. If I gave Janna the task of like some sort of detail-oriented work, or if I expected her to write her notes in the CRM every time after every appointment, believe me, I've tried to get her to do it. She's not going to fucking do it. So I set her up.
I literally had to have I'm trying to find what my wife was, but I literally had to have my hire virtual assistants to listen to my phone calls to make notes in my CRM for me because they would never get put in ever. Yeah. So what does Janna do for you? Is she a sales then?
She used to do all our listings, which she was phenomenal at, but it would be very unorganized, right? She would just have all the listings going on and everything would be fine and they'd all close. She's a phenomenal closer and great at, but it wasn't her strength to handle, doing our listings is more of a transaction coordinator role, right? It's not a sales role because all our listings are going to sell because they're great flips and they're priced right. So I had her in a transaction coordinating role when she needs to be out there in front of people. She needs to be selling. She needs to be in front of that. She needs to be in front of agents and real estate teams where she can tell what Yellowbird does because she's so likable and such a closer in person. So we just hired a sales admin to handle all Janna's back end stuff. So she's not on the computer. She's not doing transactional stuff. She's just in front of people or on the phone with people 100% of the time. Not 100%, but that would be my goal, to get her there 100% of the time. And this frees her up to get her in front of people more.
Yeah, that's what Spencer does for me in the call center. Basically handles everything. Like I started out doing all the lists and all that stuff, and then my wife's a specialist. So, she's totally opposite spectrum. So is your business partners, like what are your business partners in there? What are their roles? Like how did that break down? And that's really trying what I'm get at is like, how do you build this business with partnerships? Because if you're both rainmakers, you're probably not a good partnership, right?
We have a little bit of a different relationship in that Kyle is and isn't involved in the day-to-day. Yellowbird and the creation of it was really what I wanted to do, and my vision for it and my passion is building and working with leadership. So me and Steve's the other partner. He's involved in he's an architect. He's involved in management of the portfolio, not property management, but like long-term financial management.
Like asset management?
Yes, more asset management, buying and selling. So not as much involved in the day-to-day. Kyle, very high A enterpriser profile. So visionary ideas, not involved in the day-to-day really meetings. He's a deal maker, right? He loves making deals. He loves doing bigger deals, commercial deals, development, whatever it is, new relationships. So that's kind of his role, is bringing in business, helping me with long-term vision. And I'm more, if people are familiar with traction, I'm more doing the implementing of it, which isn't really my profile either, but needed to be done by somebody. And one day, I'm hopefully out of that. But that's our relationship.
So is he the guy?
Sarah, it's with Sarah and Liana is the real leadership and the nuts and bolts behind the business.
Yeah. So would you say, Kyle, you guys sold a huge, you guys had amassed a very large rental portfolio, correct?
Yes.
And so let's talk about that. We don't need to go deep into the numbers, but let's talk about so when did you guys start buying and keeping a ton of rentals?
So the majority of that portfolio was built when I was still, offshore. I mean, they built that during the downturn. So I think they bought those mostly during 2011 through 2015.
And that was Kyle and Steve?
Yeah, and one other partner. And they bought roughly 650 or 700 during the downturn, like real cheap stuff in Jacksonville. And then they also, in 2017, they acquired a 300 house portfolio all at one time. ADCIP was the company, but they bought that. And then through 2017, 18, not 17, but 18 and 19, we kept another 150 or so that I was involved with. So, and then the sale you're referring to was just this last October. We sold 750 of them, and that was a combination of stuff they had back in the day, stuff in the there were probably 30 of those were in the current flipping entity, and 70 of them were mine from 2018, 2019. So it was a hodgepodge, and we still own 250 at this point that I'm now involved in.
So why sell that massive chunk of the portfolio?
It was, it was time. It was time for long-term visioning of what are we doing? What are we trying to do? We're going to keep them forever. We're going to get debt on them. You know, what's the plan? We weren't putting a ton of effort into property management. Steve was kind of running property management at the time. It wasn't really his passion, what he wanted to do. The valuations in Jacksonville were just phenomenal for that type of inventory. It's not stuff that we want to own super long-term. It's kind of C-class housing that none of us were interested in keeping long-term, and we still aren't. So the timing was just perfect with the market being as hot as it is, leadership transitions within the company, and the what the assets were worth. It was just the right time. Just felt like the right time.
Awesome. So now you got 250. Are you guys fully integrated on your property management side, or do you hire a third party?
We're fully integrated, and until like these next couple months, I wasn't a whole lot involved. Like they didn't have traction over there. So Steve had been running it a certain way. Now with our transition into like, we're kind of evening out equity in them and, you know, doing some buying, selling. So there's equal ownership across everything. I'm going to get more involved in the traction and the leadership over there. So our plan is to build a super efficient property management company that's efficient for 250 houses. We don't have plans to beef that up to 1,000 again. We plan to keep 250 houses at any time and continue to buy and sell out of it to continue to make the portfolio better and better is the plan. So
it's
then
trading baseball cards, right? So you're gonna trade baseball cards.
Exactly. Getting rid of the stuff that's like kind of stick built, wet stuff in the hood that you like. It doesn't have a ton of upside. Slowly getting rid of that stuff and putting better assets in it is the plan, but keeping it between 250 and 300 at any time.
What do you mean by stick built and wet?
So in Jacksonville, you know, Florida is just, especially our part of Jacksonville, like you get some low country parts and some rougher parts of town where it's just wet. Like it gets really humid here. It rains a lot. The ground is moist. And if you get stick built houses in kind of not so great parts of town where people don't keep up with them well, you just have a lot of rot. You got a lot of termite issues, but you know, stuff just falls apart and it's just crap. Like, you know, the moisture comes up through the floor and you get mold, and they're never going to be good houses. Right?
Gotcha.
They're never going to be good. We don't mind concrete block or brick in the hood or the rougher areas. Don't love them, but stick built in bad areas and kind of wetter parts of town, it's just like, I don't care if you do a $40,000, $50,000 renovation on the place, it's always going to be a shitty house, like
Gotcha.
No matter what you do. And you're always going to have that class of tenant. And so long-term visioning for what we're doing, we don't see ourselves wanting to own that for the next 20 years.
Gotcha. So shitty, kind of like your football team's always going to be, you know, it's just
yeah. Hey, we had a good game on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't understand these guys. They're trying to lose their first number one draft pick. Well, the Jets did it last year or something. They lost their number. They won right at the end.
Yeah, it sucked. I mean, it'd be fun it'd be so much more fun if they were good. And we had such high hopes this year, but it ended up just being kind of
Urban Meyer was too busy getting lap dances.
God, just so embarrassing. It's just embarrassing for the franchise. What a jackass. You know, it sets the tone for the whole year.
Yeah.
Like, how can you do that, you idiot?
That's right. We're in Washington, so we're a Seahawks fan, and it was like their first losing season, so that's pretty depressing.
But you have like great, like I really like Pete Carroll, and you just have, it's always a good franchise. Like you have, it seems like it's always, it's one of the loudest stadiums, right? And they're just crazy. Like fun games to go to. It seems like you should go to a Jags game. Like they're fun, but it's like.
Is it like the baseball games when there's like nobody in the stands? There's like, you know.
Yeah, they're pretty empty, but they try to like, for the football team sucking, they try to like make the games fun. So people drink pretty hard at Jags games. We have the two pools.
Okay.
Pools like in the stadium, which are really fun, you know, if you can get in one of those.
And the owner's got a badass mustache, so. You know.
Yes. Yes, Shad Khan does have a badass mustache.
So you're optimizing this. Why don't you talk about, as we've talked quite a bit, and this is kind of what was kind of leading into, is you use a culture index, you put people in the right seats. What does your operation look like today to allow you to buy 418 houses last year and flip? Are you guys flipping, you know, you're flipping them, you're keeping some as rentals? Are you wholesaling any? You know, do you guys Do you guys have all in-house crews, construction crews doing the flips? Like, how does that work? And then what's your office, marketing, all that kind of stuff kind of look like at a higher level? We don't need to get too much in the weeds.
So I'll start with, just to try to bring the most value to the people that are listening. I'll start with like, what is the office? What is our setup for doing this many deals? So we spent 1.4 million in marketing last year. So we're between 100 and 120,000 dollars a month we're spending in marketing. The bulk of that is postcard. We're also doing some cold calling with you guys. We're experimenting with some text messages and some other thing. I think we do Google ads and organic stuff at a high level. So basically buying houses, there's not one magic formula, right? As you know, to do as many as we do, you have to have a bunch of lines in the water. So I wouldn't suggest that for someone just starting, but I think we do a lot of different things at a high level. Everything I just said, including some hustle, sniper stuff that me and you have talked about, Elliot. I have 5 full-time salespeople that are going on appointments and also hustling and are accountable for stuff at the same time. And they're accountable for doing their sniper cold calling on tax deed, that sort of thing. So we're consistently between 30 and 40.
You go back really quick. You said you have to have a bunch of lines in the water, but if you're new, if you're going to do one marketing channel, what would you do? If you're like brand new to starting out this year and you have a $2,000, $5,000 a month budget, what would you spend your money on? Let's just say a $2,000 a month budget. What would you do?
So I would, there's 2 things. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to phrase it. I would time block my time, and part of say half my day would be spent deal machining. So going around doing sniper deal machine postcards and building my list that way. The other part of my time would be texting. The power that text blasting is giving the kid that just graduated college that has a few $100s to compete with someone like me is incredible. And you can absolutely do it. There's wholesalers I'm working with that are doing 2 or 3 deals a month just texting. The reason I put deal machining in there too is because I don't know how long cold texting is going to be around. We try to do, not much longer. You think we try to do it the right way, just because we're big enough to where like people know our name and we don't want to be doing like gray area stuff. But that's 100% what I would do if I had no budget. And if texting went away, I'd focus on deal machining and cold calling there. When you deal machine, you're creating a list that you cannot buy. Right? It's the best list you could ever have, and it takes time and energy to make it. But
this is why I love you, because I literally was shooting another podcast before this, and that's exactly, and I tell people all the time, go driving for dollars. I use the Driving for Dollars app and Deal Machine. They're both the same thing. Deal Machine is probably a little bit more of a higher end one. Driving for Dollars is just a more bulk one. And build your badass list of houses you know that are shitty, and just pick up the phone and start calling people. And you can do that with $500 a month. And get deals.
Yep.
So
sure you can.
Yeah.
I got guys. I used to run this little group called the Peapod, and I still got old Peapod guys that are still doing the habits that I implemented with them, and they are still doing a deal a month with very minimal effort.
What's the Peapod?
So it was my little like focus group, progress through execution and accountability, Peapod, and it was just a small mentorship group I ran completely for free. But I held people accountable to a high level. We'd sit there, and if people didn't hit their numbers, be like, get the fuck out. Like, I'm spending my time doing this. Like, you go out and spend $100,000 on a fortune builder's education if you want, like, me to fluff you with fucking PowerPoint presentations. Like, it was a nuts and bolts. Like, people did deals because we were doing the stuff that everyone is way too uncomfortable to do, right? It's not, there's no magic to it. It's getting on the phone. It's getting out there and grinding. And your question, one more piece to that is go to every single networking event in town and meet everyone in the business and treat people the right way. Don't be a fucking asshole. Treat people the right way. Talk to people. Be honest. Don't act like you've done a million deals before when you've never done one. People respect honesty, and they can see through bullshit. So put the work in to grind, and go out and meet everybody in the space that you can, and be humble and offer to help. Be like, what do you need? What core deals are you looking for? How can I help? Rather than asking for favors. And don't go to the thing and be like, hey, can I pick your brain at lunch? And I can't stand when people do that. It's like, what, you think I have time? not to be a dick, but like, I can't spend an hour and a half lunch with you so you can pick my brain. Like, that's just not the right, that's not the right thought process.
I just got a guy that cold Facebook messaged me last night. It was like, hey man, I hope it's going good. I just moved back. I'm working for DocuSign. Can you send me your phone number so I can call you this week and pick your brain? Fuck no.
So here's how I deal with those, Elliot. I give them a link and I say, here's my Deal Machine login. So click on this link. You can become one of my Deal Machine drivers. Get me 100 deals and buy the book, The Compound Effect, and read the first 3 chapters. When you've read the first 3 chapters of The Compound Effect and you've got 100 deals in my Deal Machine, let's talk.
Yeah.
Show me you're willing to work first.
Yep.
And you know how many people do that?
Very minimal.
0. Of all the motherfuckers that text and just say, hey man, can I pick your brain over lunch? No one will actually do any work.
Yeah, I do this when I'm doing the cold call or for the cold call business. I have people call all the time. Like I'm doing this calls all the time. And I'm new. It's always, I'm going to start wholesaling to then build capital so I can buy rentals and retire and be long-term wealth. That's always what they say. And it's always from the bigger pockets guys. And so I'll get on there. I'll still hop on and be like, here, do these things. Driving for dollars, get a list of 2,000 to 3,000 driving for dollars. Cold call them for 10 hours a week for the next 2 months. When you're done, come back and I'll give you another free hour. 2 people came back.
Yeah.
Out of like 500.
Well, that's why it's not difficult what we do, right, Elliot? Like buying houses, it's not rocket science. It's not you don't have to be super smart to do it. I see plenty of dumb people succeed at our business on a daily basis. But what it does take is grit and being willing to eat some shit, right? And being rejected on the phone over and over again, and doing work that's not necessarily glorious or fun. It's grinder. The single family game is a grinder game. So that's the reason most people fail. It's not because people are dumb or they can't figure it out. It's because they don't have the grit, or they have a cushy enough job to where it's not necessary. Like there's no pain.
There's no pain. Yeah, there's no pain point.
Right.
Yeah, there's no pain point in your life, or you're too smart and you think there's a better, faster way instead of just actually just going and knocking on somebody's fucking door and talking to them. Really, that's the best way to get started. Go knock on people's doors. Go call people. Like I'm just dumb enough to like throughout the years, like these guys said, go do it. Like you said, Taro Yarber, he's a Seattle guy. He's like, go do this. And so what I did is I went and did it, and I call him back. He's like, holy shit, you did it. And, you know what I mean? He's like, nobody ever does anything. So then I say, what's next? And he'd say, go do this. It was the first time he was coming into Portland. He's like, I need somebody to go take photos of one of my houses. I went and took photos, 800 square foot house. I took 480 photos, sent it to him back in Dropbox. He's like, because I didn't want to fuck it up, but I went and did it, right? But he's like, I don't think I've had so many photos in my life of one 800 square foot house, right?
And that's an interesting point too. Like, you're working for Taro. He asked you, hey, can you do me this favor? Did you ever ask for money or any sort of profit split?
No, I literally was working 80 hours a week at France, 70 hours a week at France. I'm like, on my way home, I'll go stop at this house. What else do you need me to do? I just want to learn. And I was just dumb enough to like say, go knock on 10 doors and tell people this. So what did I do? I equate it to back in the day when I was referee in high school basketball. And I was reffing with this guy. It was a good referee, and we were reffing this JV game. And the coach from one of the teams was just fucking up our ass the whole time. So at halftime, this guy that's been reffing for a long time, he said, you know what? Go up to this guy. He starts yelling at us again and go say, coach, there's a reason you're a JV coach. Let us do our job. So sure as shit, the freaking third quarter comes along. I go up to this coach. He's chirping. I say, coach, there's a reason you're a JV coach. Let us do our job. The guy lost his shit. Literally, I had to tee him up. Almost had to kick him out of the game. He was wanting to fight me in the parking lot. Come to find out, they were buddies. And he's like, you told that kid to say that, didn't you? He's like, damn right, it did. It shut you up. But I was just dumb enough to say, this guy knows what he's doing. I'm going to go do what he says. Because it's going to make my life better in some way, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, man.
You made a funny point, too, about like the guys that also fail at this are the ones that are too smart, right? That are really smart, intellectual people. And they're like, the fuck am I doing spending my time like talking to these people on the phone that tell me to go F myself over and over? Like, I don't want to live my life like this. Like, Sometimes.
Or I went to this
Have a
lady's
few screws loose.
Yeah, I went to this lady's
Successful.
house. It was a trailer, so it was a tear down. And I opened the door, and like I get attacked by these dogs, just crackhead, like trailer trash, old 80-year-old lady in a wheelchair smoking a cigarette. Right? These dogs, they're running out, and she's like, "Don't let the dogs out." And I'm like, "Oh shit!" One dog's hanging on my pant leg, and I'm trying to chase these dogs in this trailer that's worth like 10 grand.
I got another pretty funny one that I don't know if I should go on this podcast or not. But I'll say it's pretty funny. We because it very much is that too. So we had a new guy working for us, Luke, and he was a notary. And I was like, "Hey, show up this house with me. We got to close it. This guy needs to close this day. He's going to foreclosure auction." So we're banging on the door. This is Luke's like third day of work. Nobody's answering the door. I'm like, I know this fucker's in here. We texted all day. He's probably sleeping or something. So I just opened the door, walked, banged on his bedroom door, didn't answer there. I went in there, woke him up, said, "Hey man, you're selling your house today. You got to sign." Luke was fucking mortified. He's like, "Are you shitting me?" We just walked into this guy's house and you forced him to sign, like didn't force him to sign, like he knew I was coming. But he's, like I said, Dick a crackhead, like had to wake his ass up.
You gotta do it. You gotta
lost his
freaking do
house the next day, and then he would have been evicted. Instead, we gave him a few months in the house after. But you have to force your way through, right?
Yeah, you can't be passive in this game. That's I think the part about the Rainmaker. Like we'll just, like you said, Tucker says all the time, "I'm all gas and no brakes. I'll ask for forgiveness later." That's pretty funny though. I don't think I've ever done that far to walk in somebody's house and then go in their fucking bedroom and wake them up.
I knew he was in there though. It wasn't like, I knew kind of what I'd be walking into. And I knew that if we didn't close it that day, it was going to auction. And then someone else is going to buy it, and then they throw him out of his house. Like I had made a relationship with the guy, but I think he was just drunk and passed out.
All right, so we went on a tangent. Say we're talking about office staff. So you have your 5 salespeople, and then you spend $120,000 a month on marketing. So then you also don't you have like leads managers, like intake people? Like, wouldn't that be Monica?
Yeah, so we have spending that kind of money in marketing. We have 3 people that are answering the phones and setting appointments for the agents that go out and close. So that's just a different way to do it. That's the way I decided to do it, rather than like nights and weekends had always been a big issue for us. Like, who answers the calls on nights and weekends? And for a while, I'd have the agents do it, but the agents sometimes get lazy, right? And they're like, "Oh, I don't feel like driving all the way out here for this appointment." But I wanted that separation between the appointment setting and the agents that are going out to do it, because I don't want the appointment set through their lens, right? I wanted all appointments set, because those people are calling for a reason. I don't care if it's a waste. If you think it's a waste of your time, sometimes you go out to something and think it's a waste of your time, and then it's a great deal, right? So I consciously made that decision to separate appointment setting from the agents closing deals. So 3 people answering the phone, 5 agents that go and close deals and do their own hustle sort of thing. We have 1 person doing digital marketing, kind of IT, 1 person handling marketing, and 1 person kind of the boots on the ground marketing coordinator, and then 1 person overseeing all the marketing that goes on over there.
Gotcha. I like that idea of having somebody set the appointments, because you're right. Like me as a sales guy that would answer the phones, like I don't answer the phones anymore, but I would always be like, it doesn't seem like I'm busy. I have enough deals right now. Like I have a big enough pipeline. Like I don't need any more deals. Like seems like a waste of my time, right? And so it's always that, I'll push them off or whatever. But having somebody set the appointments for you, you don't have any choice. You're going.
Right. It aligns, like, they're not judged, but they're evaluated over their ratio of appointment setting. So, and the agents are evaluated over their ability to close the deal. So it keeps that aligned, right? If an agent is agent's not gonna set an appointment that they don't think they can close. And I found out in 2018 that I was overqualifying people on the phone, because I was doing all the phone calls, all the appointments. I'd overqualify the shit out of everybody, right? Because I'm not going to spend time at your house if I don't think I can close it. Yeah. So because of that, we lost deals, right? My salespeople are so good. They need to get out of their own way of overqualifying on the phone. So I'd rather someone else set the appointment. And even if it is a crappy appointment, I think my salesperson can go there and change that person's mind. or explain it to them better to where you may turn a deal out of something that wasn't before.
Now, are your sales guys commission only?
Yes.
Gotcha. How do you structure commission? That's always been a hard thing for me, structuring commission.
Right now we're doing 10% of net profit.
Gotcha.
So there's a couple different ways, like 10% of net profit. That's on a Yellowbird lead that comes in off a postcard or something. Appointment gets set for them. They go out and close the deal. Deal makes 30 grand. They get a commission check for 3 grand. But if it's self-sourced, they get 25%. So, $40,000 deal that they got from the foreclosure auction with equity or something like that, they're going to make 10 grand off that deal. And I had several salespeople this year that did $100,000 deals that were self-sourced. So that's a big check for a 22-year-old kid. And it's fun to watch happen. And the text messaging, I think they're 15% because they're a little more involved. And if they buy a rental that doesn't really have much spread in it at all, it only works for a rental, doesn't work as a flip at all, I treat it like it was a $15,000 flip. And I just pay them $15,000.
A base. They get a minimum, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to structure that. Yeah, that's fantastic. But since you're forcing them to go on the appointments, they're not missing out on the 10. They still have to go do the 10% deals, so they don't spend all their time trying to do the 25% deals because you're forcing them to go on appointments.
Yeah, but
not forcing them, but
set for them. So I look at the appointments as almost like a salary, because these are deals. These are always going to come through as long as we keep our marketing push, and we do a really good job tracking their self-sourced numbers too. So I make sure it's a balance. Yeah. And I make sure my senior agents get most of the appointments, but they're also doing self-source, and the more junior guys do a little more self-source, a little less appointments.
Gotcha. That's where we implement some of that, because I was trying to figure out help you guys on some of that super sniper stuff that we were talking about. Like that's probably just do it as like the JV guy or the junior guys, build a platform for them to really be able to do the super sniper stuff. And then they have they can just go grab these leads that they can go, or these things that maybe they stop to go chase them down, door knock them, do all these things and find crazy stuff.
It is. I mean, it's not easy. And the work that they do week after week, it's what we were just talking about. It's not easy work. It's grinder work, and you can make a lot of money doing it. All 5 of my sales people will be in 6 figures, and a lot of them are young. A lot of them are right out of, 2 of them are right out of college, 21 years old. And, that's great money for someone 21 years old. And they're getting to learn, I don't hide anything. They learn so much here. They're going to be beyond us one day doing their own thing. But the business knowledge that they're getting just working here and watching us grow and watching us hire is invaluable too. So they're learning a lot and making great money.
So you're a pretty intense person in a lot of ways. You're very straight to the point. I remember doing our first Zoom call, and I'm like, and you're just very straight to the point, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's blunt. I don't want to waste time here, straight shooter. And 10 minutes ago when we were talking about the grind and being, how to be dumb enough to do this business, is you're very straight of saying, with your pea pod and all that stuff, of don't waste my time, right? How do you do that? Because sometimes I think sometimes people don't respond well to bluntness, but how do you do that as the leader of the company? Do you soften up, or are you just that kind of guy, you drive this like you did with your military academy in high school?
Really, really good question. And there's not a perfect answer to it. This is the best one I can give. There's a book. Are you familiar with Jocko?
Yeah.
There's a book he wrote. His first one was good. I forgot the first one's called. Extreme Ownership was the first one. His second one's called The Dichotomy of Leadership. And he talks about a subject called leadership capital. So what leadership capital is spend your time and get aggressive on the stuff that matters. And a little passivity on the stuff that doesn't matter can go a long way. Am I going to jump? It used to really bother me when people showed up late, right? But is it worth if I'm aggressive and a prick all the time, then people are just going to know me as an aggressive prick. And whether I'm aggressive or not, what I say isn't going to have impact. What you say only has impact if you're calm and collected most of the time. If I'm calm and collected most of the time and I get pissed, people are going to listen when I'm pissed, right? Because they know I'm mostly calm and collected. So is it worth my leadership? And he calls it leadership capital, right? Is it worth me spending leadership capital off jumping up someone's ass for showing up at 8:35? No. So even though it pissed me off, I created a workaround where we have, these daily huddle morning meetings at 8:45. And really, it's an unknown, rule that as long as you're here by 8:45, like all good. So I created that kind of workaround for myself. And the other answer is everybody's a little different. So with my salespeople, I know, and I wouldn't tell them this, but I know it's unrealistic for them to hit their self-source numbers every single week of the year, right? Life happens. Like I can't expect them to spend 2 hours of outbound on the phone, 5,000 text messages, 50 door knocks every single week. So it's conversations about, hey man, what happened? Like how did you miss this? What was the last week? And making sure it doesn't become a pattern. When it becomes a pattern, that's, whether it becomes a pattern with the salesperson or a pattern of fucking up with one of your operational people, that's when you have an issue. And once it becomes a pattern, that's when you can kind of crack the whip and be aggressive with the conversation and then see what happens. And then it's probably time for them to go. They're probably not a good fit for working with you. But I think the right answer to that, Elliot, is being calm and collected most of the time. So when you do get aggressive about something, people know that really matters and it's something important. And you're lenient on the stuff that isn't necessarily as operationally important, more nice to haves.
Yeah, because when I met you at Park City, I'm like, this guy's going to be intense. And then you're just so nice. You're just so relaxed and chill and go with the flow. And, and I'm like, I thought this guy was going to bite my head off the whole time. So awesome, man. I think you are very unique and very special and just one of the smartest, well-rounded guys that I've probably interviewed and actually have met over this last year. Kudos to you for what you've done. I think you also put a lot of focus on family and things that do matter as well. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you balance family and work and your aspirations of wanting to be whatever they are?
Sure. So if anyone wants a copy of the Yellowbird alignment sheet that we use to do this, they can, DM me somewhere and I'll send it to you. But that's the main answer is alignment sheet. One of our core values at Yellowbird is balance. It's our most important thing in the entire company. Sarah, who you know well, she's phenomenal. My number 2, could not do it without her. We have one-on-ones every single month. I have one-on-ones with every one of my direct reports. The reason I bring up Sarah is because we just recently had ours. And we talked more about Sarah's personal life and what she's got going on, like with her fitness and her diet. We spent more time on that than we did Yellowbird stuff. Because if Sarah's having issues, and I'm bringing up Sarah just because she's a close friend also, but if she's having issues with her family or she's having issues at home, like her head is not going to be on work. Like we need to solve that problem before she can ever think about making progress, like with Yellowbird, what we got going on in business. Like that is nothing compared to what happens, your home life, right? If I have a big fight with Jane, or if Jane leaves me and takes the kids somewhere else and divorce me, I am not going to be effective here by any means. So like the reason balance is one of our core values is because if your life isn't in balance on all of those, on family, on friends, on lifestyle, on physical, then you're not going to be an effective person in general, and you're not going to work well here. So how I do that is our alignment sheet. It's similar to a GoBundance one sheet. Like I kind of stole the 8 things from the GoBundance pillars, but we already had 7, and I just added the 1 more. But the basic idea of it is that you look at in those 8 pillars of life, you put a quick little blurb on what your life looks like 10 to 25 years down the road. So family, for example, I wrote in there, I'm close with my kids. Obviously, I go to visit them and their families. I'm close with their kids if they have them at that point. I'm close with all my sisters. I'm close with all my sisters' kids, my nieces and nephews. So I paint this picture of what I want it to look like. And then you break that down into a 1-year task that's going to get you closer to that. And you farther break that down into 90-day rocks, which is a traction thing that gets you closer to that 1 year piece. So you do this for all aspects of your life, financial, business, everything. You break it down to 1 year. What's one thing you can do this year that can get you closer to that? And then we break that down into 90-day rocks. And 90-day rocks is part of our operational efficiency at Yellowbird. Everyone's got personal and business 90-day rocks that they're held accountable for by their leadership, by me. They have to look at them every month. So they already have this accountability structure and this alignment sheet that can allow them to make steady progress towards the person they want to be always. And they can see what parts of their life are in imbalance, and they can actively work on that. If their family is all fucked up, they can see that that's a weak portion of their life, and they can actively work on that and they have to sit with me in a monthly meeting and be like, what are you doing about these action items that you need to do to get your family unfucked? So it's the whole thing together, working as a network, and in balance being our core value. It's not just a word written on the wall. We actually live it every day with the alignment sheets and the weekly accountability. So balancing it all together has actually been pretty easy for me with the setup and operational efficiencies that we have in our balance sheet, and taking time to plan and doing the things that are actually important in your life.
If I ever lost everything, I'm moving to Jacksonville to come work for you.
Appreciate that.
I mean, that's probably the greatest. I'm sitting here thinking, I think as we talked, offline the other day, some of my personal stuff is not in balance, right? And so, I'm sitting here thinking, I've always focused so hard on driving business and revenue, and you let these other things go to the wayside to a certain extent, thinking that's what matters, and it's so much it doesn't. And so it's just very good. Yeah, I'd actually like your sheet. I think that'd be
sure.
Your alignment sheet. So because we're growing a company, and we're hiring people, and it's going to start growing. And if we can start it right now, it's going to be easier to go moving forward. So quick, you say you hold people accountable to their personal life. If they come back 2 months in a row and they haven't done shit on their personal goals, are they in trouble because of that, or how do you hold them? Or what's your? Is it important to you as it is their work related goals?
It is. But it's not something that they get in trouble over.
Yeah,
right?
I guess that's probably the wrong word.
It's more of let's have the conversation. This personal stuff is for you. It's not for me. I don't care if you call your sister every single week. If you don't want to call your sister every week, then fuck it. Maybe do you want to call your sister every month? Maybe why is it that you don't want to call your sister every week? Is there something going on with the relationship? Do you feel uncomfortable doing it, or do you just feel like it's overkill? So it turns into a conversation that ends up moving forward. But you point that conversation, because I actually do care. I think that's why these alignment sheets work, is because I truly, truly care about everyone here, and everything we do with our growth is more to give Sarah the opportunity to grow and be more of a leader. We have to scale, right? We can't do, if I want to keep great people that are hungry and goal oriented, I just can't sit around and be like, I want to do 30 houses a month in Jacksonville forever, right? I could do that, but I'm only going to keep a certain type of person. The people I hire are hungry, growth oriented, goal setting people. So the reason I scale is to give them opportunity. It's not for more revenue. So doing these alignment sheets is the most important thing we do at Yellowbird. So I think your intent really has to matter, and it comes across that I care in those conversations. And they when someone doesn't do what they're supposed to do on a personal level, they don't want to come and tell me about it because they're disappointed in themselves. So it doesn't happen a whole lot, or they don't do it for some sort of reason, and we uncover it in the conversation and we set a new path. Where you're at right now doesn't matter. It just matters your trajectory, where you're going. So you can fuck up for the next 5 years, and still, if we can get you on track on year 5, you'll still be way ahead of 99% of America if you're planning and goal setting and writing it down. So yeah, they're great conversations, I would say, Elliot, is the response. And no one gets in trouble, but people don't want to not accomplish their personal rocks. It's just, you create a culture of that.
It's amazing. And It's funny you hear about people that are the leadership, and as you're growing like yourself as running this company, and you're getting out more of the let's say the day-to-day, Sarah's handling the marketing, all these things where you're making all these decisions, you almost come back to a different level where now you're managing people and their emotions and helping them be the best they can be. And that's really your job, is if you can help them be the best people they can be, your company grows because of that, because happy home life, happy at work, right? All those things. And it's I was thinking about it. Do you ever watch the show Billions?
No, I've heard it's good though.
Yeah, so they have an in-house therapist. So it's all these hot type A, traders, just ruthless, and they have one of the main characters is the in-house therapist that they can go see. They can get them unstuck and help them get all these things. It's like maybe for your free time, that's what you should be as a therapist.
No, I'm good at that.
But awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this and coming on the show. I just really appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your business, the call center, and just everything you do. And I think you're trailblazing a lot of different ways, and you're going to change this industry. The more you get out there and the more you talk to people, is just being a quality human being that runs a quality company.
I appreciate that, Ellie. And I just wanted to, being on your podcast, I want to just say one more thing just about you mentioned the word trailblazing, and I feel like in a lot of ways that is what we're doing, and that's what I plan to do. I don't have a passion for real estate. I don't have a passion for flipping houses or any of that. Everything I do is everything I do is around my people and the leaders that I have here and the people that we're hiring, and every decision I make is based on them. And my theory is, if you can grow a company, we have 30 people now. If you can grow a company of balanced, goal-oriented people that are living great lives, that ripple effect is going to go out to their families and their kids and just the entire community. And I think of it long term. And if people are spending their lives doing things they can enjoy, and they're constantly challenged, and you made the comment of how energetic and happy everyone is at this office. Like, I take that very seriously. Like, people that are miserable just don't typically last around here. And if you can create that, you can just almost create a better world because of it. Because I think a lot of our issues stem with issues with, the political shit going on, with social unrest, stem from people living unfulfilled lives. And we strive every day to make sure our small little community here in Yellowbird, everyone is fulfilled and balanced, and the ripple effect kind of goes out. So that's my ultimate vision for it.
It's fantastic. Where can people find out more about you? I don't think you're a huge social media guy, but where can people find more about you and your company?
I mean, the best way is I'm on Instagram at Pat Flynn Homes. I don't spend a ton of time on there. I don't spend a ton of time on Facebook either. But actually, the best way to do it is our Yellowbird. If you search Real Estate Investors Yellowbird Connect on Facebook, it's a phenomenally run Facebook group. We have a full-time admin that gets rid of all the spam and everything. And I do, one of my top sales guy does a podcast on there talking about sales and stuff. And I do a podcast. I try to do it every week, but it ends up being about every other week. And it's
so
just
hard.
It's just it's just me, and I talk about what's going on with Yellowbird and different things I'm thinking about. And it's only 5 minutes, every other week. And I use it more as a digital kind of journal thing. It's cool to see where your head was at a year ago. So the best way to follow us is on that. Plus, you can get great advice, great sales advice if you're local, great contractors, or just great wholesaling advice in general on that Facebook page.
Fantastic. That's a great idea as well. So thanks, Pat. Appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll be able to connect soon in person.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Elliot.